All right, so this past month has been a rough one for Tom Segura ever since his airport meltdown. And at the beginning of the year, when he went on that rant about his loser fans, I thought maybe he would have realized after that it's probably not the smartest idea to continue with calling your fans losers and pores. But I guess not, and it's too bad he didn't watch my video about it because I tried to warn him. But he probably didn't listen because I'm just a poor loser fan to him, which is all true except for being a fan of his. I'm proud to say I was never really a Tom Segura fan, but I think I am starting to become a fan of Two Bears One Cave now that you can tell it's like torture for Tom. And it's going to be interesting to see where Tom goes from here, in terms of his career at least. Like, are we actually witnessing his downfall? Is he destined to be the next Brendan Schaub, or is he just fine and are people overreacting? Like, I think the big question is, can he continue to coast from here and just do what he wants like he's been doing? And what I think he could have easily done if he weren't losing touch with his fans, with the airport meltdown and the poor losers rant. That's definitely given him some trouble, which I think is good for him. He obviously needs a little more adversity in his life other than just a gate-checked bag once in a while. Him trying to avoid becoming a lolcow from now on, just like Schaub, is a good task for him, and it'll be interesting to watch. But he's lucky Schaub set the bar so high, even though it seems like Tom is trying his best to give Schaub a run for his money. And just like with Schaub, everything that Tom's done is so avoidable. Like that losers rant he went on in the beginning of the year, that was not necessary at all. I don't know how he thought that was a good idea. And it's crazy. It's like Tom just forgot his income is dependent on his fans, even though he brings that up during the losers rant. But I don't know how he didn't realize that it's not the smartest idea to be talking about how much money you have and how you're better than everybody when the reason you have that money is because of the fans. I'd say that's probably not the best career move as a comedian, especially because now they can make you pay for it. It's like what we saw with the fans turning on Brendan Schaub. Like, at one point, a lot of the people on the Fight and the Kids Saw About It used to be fans of his podcast, but then they started to realize what he was actually like, and they thought he was arrogant and he wasn't grateful for what he had. And when they voiced their concerns, he acted like he was above the criticism, and he basically just said they're losers, they're homeless cats working at P.F. Chang's. So it seems like Tom just took a page out of his book, calling his fans that complain about the show pores and losers.
I won't, fine, don't listen to me, don't listen to that person anymore, but you have to control your own feelings, okay? It's not on other people to make sure they don't talk about a topic that makes you feel bad, all right? You only have what you have because of fans, so don't talk about us like that. Yeah, but you're still a loser if you're thinking like that. And so you're maybe, I'm lucky to have you as a loser fan, but you don't have to be that way.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Yeah, and that was pretty much my reaction when I originally saw that. I'm just like, well, that's a bold move, and it never really ends well. Just ask Def Noodles. I mean, he started calling his fans trolls and told them to stop listening, and they all did. He literally lost 99% of his audience. I mean, that is somebody who had a massive downfall. I've never seen anything like it. It's bad when people don't even care to hate watch his channel anymore. I mean, at least Brendan has that. But, my point is, if you're going to address criticism, it's a terrible idea to act like you're above it and try to dismiss it as haters or pores. Like, I think every YouTuber, comedian, or podcaster should be aware of Def Noodles' downfall because that is a prime example of how badly this could go. Like, this was before Tom Segura's rant, but he basically did a more extreme version than that somehow. And he spent, I think, 3 videos in a row talking about it, and each video was like 10 to 15 minutes. And he just sounded completely unhinged, and his fans were trying to tell him this. They're trying to help him out and give him some constructive criticism, but he didn't want to hear it, and he would just label everybody as haters and trolls and people that complain too much, and he told them to stop listening, which they all eventually did.
Insipid and dirty heart of an internet troll who veils their unadulterated and often irrational hatred for people under the guise of advice. These bottom-dwelling, bottom-feeding assholes spend all day figuring out new ways to instigate and argue and squabble over quite literally anything in a desperate attempt to divert attention away from the fact that they are nothing more than absolutely nothing in the grand scheme of human existence. They're less than a blip in a blip of a radar, and their smallness terrifies them. That's why they lash out and leave negative comments. These people will live miserable lives, making excuses and blaming everyone else for their problems.
Yeah, so he pretty much lost his mind and his whole career fell apart. But at least Tom Segura, he's nowhere near that bad. but he does have a similar mentality when it comes to criticism. You know, he could just choose to ignore it and not address it, but it's like he wants people to dislike him and wants them to stop watching his show. Like this comment says, Tom doesn't care if he's likable, which is a tough stance to have in a business based on selling tickets. And then somebody corrected him and said he doesn't care if he's likable to people he views underneath him, which definitely seems like the case. And a lot of people have caught on to this. Even Bert Kreischer has brought it up.
And I will tell you, you know, a lot of the fans say that you're totally unrelatable now, but I understand why you became unrelatable.
Yeah.
It feels really cool to buy something nice. Like this.
We peaked at around episode 30.
That happened with Two Bears. We used to be good during the pandemic when Tom was fat, and then Tom lost weight and got disconnected from our fans.
Damn
and
it.
it's just fucking,
Now calls them the pores.
he calls them the pores. He does call them the pores.
And you could tell Bert wants the old Tom back, but I think that ship has sailed, even though it's not so bad for Bert because compared to Tom, he actually seems more likable. You know, at least he kind of knows his place for the most part, and he hasn't changed much, and he doesn't take himself too seriously. But with Tom, he acts like he's this high-class guy, and it seems like he just wants to be a socialite or something. And I think he'd even admit he's a bit of an elitist, which I think is his biggest problem. You know, especially in comedy, that is a big turnoff. And comedians, they used to be afraid of becoming out of touch, but with Tom, it's like he just does not care. Even though at this point, I would imagine he's probably starting to learn his lesson because that whole airport thing backfired on him big time. And that's when I first thought, like, damn, this guy could be in some trouble. You know, he's heading towards Brennan Schaub territory here, especially when I saw right after this, he went on a podcast to talk about stoicism. I mean, that's the funniest thing he's ever done, and it shows he does not have much self-awareness. And I'm surprised he didn't try to act like this was some elaborate bit, because I'm sure some of his fans would have believed it, but then also a lot of them would have just been like, dude, you're digging the hole deeper and deeper. So I think it's probably smart he didn't really talk about it. He did mention it once, like very briefly on his podcast.
Yeah.
But any moment of it could be clipped up and there could be a cancellation or whatever.
It's like, you know, you talk about some dump at American Airlines that's making you gate check your bag, and then people get all fired. I'm a good guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then people,
But you listen.
Yeah.
You call out dumps when you see them.
I can do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Stupid bitch.
So I believe that was the only time he talked about it, and I think that's probably a smart move, especially since they bank episodes. So if he tried to address it, it would be like a month or so later, and then he'd just be bringing it up all over again and reminding everybody. Like, also, I'd say most of his fans probably aren't even aware of it or aware of any of the drama going on, so it's best not to make them aware of it. And if he addressed it, it'd probably just turn into another rant about the pores, which obviously would not help at all. So I think at this point, he probably realized it's best not to talk about that kind of stuff. I think he's smart enough to realize that, but who really knows? I mean, I also wouldn't be surprised if we see him have another meltdown in a month. Like maybe the rental car guy gives him the wrong Lexus or something and he just snaps. I wouldn't be surprised by that either. But I think what it all really depends on is how much self-awareness does Tom have? You know, does he have more than Brendan Schaub? And if he doesn't, then he's going to be in some big trouble, even though it's going to be hilarious to watch. But I think he probably does. You know, I think he realized that his meltdown went viral and people have been talking about it and fans have started to turn on him. And I think he knows his strategy of calling them pores hasn't been going very well. But either way, I don't know if he can really redeem himself with those fans. You know, the fans that have checked out, I think they're gone and they just want to see him fail at this point. And it's hard to tell how many of those fans there are, like how many fans he's lost, because I don't know if he's buying subs, but he still only gains subs each month. And their views have gone down, but I don't think it's anything to really be that concerned about. But also, it seems like a lot of people are hate watching now. So I guess the real test will be once all the dust settles, once people are just like, all right, I'm sick of hearing about them. I don't care anymore. I'm done watching. I think that'll be the real test to see how many people are still with him. But I think if Tom wants to try to win any fans back and redeem himself, I think he needs to do Bert's cruise. You know, if he went on there and got drunk with a bunch of pores, I think that'd be a good way to prove maybe he's not so out of touch. But either way, I think as long as Tom stays out of trouble from here, which it seems like he's trying his best to do, I think him and his podcast network will probably be fine. But let me know what you guys think about it all, and then make sure you go check out my Patreon account. There's a ton of extra content on there. There's over 50 videos at this point. I post a new one every week, and they're all 20 to 30 minutes long, and there's just plenty of stuff to go through on there. If you enjoy this channel, I highly recommend it. People say it's worth it, so go check it out. I'll put a link in the description, and then hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you at the next video.